we'll talk about strings. Strings are text, basically. For example, you might have some text like this, and you wish to extract various parts of the text. You might want to extract the surname, for example, in this case. There is a limited facility within Excel itself for extracting text. You can do separate them into columns. There's one feature of Excel which enables you to do that, text to columns, but we want to be more flexible and really go back to basics. Another example of some text that you might want to parse. When we say parse, it means extract bits of it. For example, these might be stock price tickers on the very left hand side, BAB, and this might be the buying price, and you want to just extract all the buying prices, for example. And I mean, Excel does have facility already for dealing with strings. For example, if we just want to, for example, concatenate some text, and so we could do that by using so I'll click on the house reference and then using the ampersand and then this next one, and you can see that those two have been concatenated. Excel, for example, can also extract bits of text. For example, if you want the left two characters out of house, we would go left and then left, and then click on the text that we wanted to fiddle around with, and then that would extract those two characters. Well, that's all very well, but what we do want to do is have a bit more flexibility. For example, just looping through those stock prices, for example, and extracting all the buying price or the selling price. We need to have more fine tuning, and that really is done using VBA. So just to remind you how we set up a program, and then we can we double click on that to look at the VBE. We've explained all those features in other lessons. So just starting off, for example, I want to dim a couple of strings, so I can just copy that and paste in here. Dim string, dim st1 at st1. So here I've just defined two strings, and it might confuse you that I've put them both on the same line using the colon. So I'll just that is a way of putting two statements onto one line. Or let me just avoid the confusion for the moment, and I'll just put them on two lines. So for example, we might want to use the cells and then use the concatenation. So that's what I will do here. And what does this do? Well, let's find out. I'll take the design off over here. Can you predict what's going to happen here? Cells 1, 1 is st1 plus st2. Yes, it puts both of those in. Concatenates them and puts the result there. So I could try some others. The one that we just did was the for Excel was left. Well, the corresponding one in VBA is left as well. So in the next cell down, that should put the left of st1. Now what's st1? st1 is house. So can you predict what's going to go in onto the second cell down? Yes, the left two characters of house, which is HO. Okay, we can try the right as well, and then I'll put that in the cell beneath that. Cells 3, 1 is the right. Now what that basically means is we just pick up the right two characters of house, which is SE, as you can see. Okay, we will now look at the in string. Now inst is a bit different to the ones above, because let's see what in string does. In string st1 us. Now what that does is picks up the position, so it returns a number as distinct from the other ones which are returning bits of text. It returns the number. What number? The number of the position of US, which is here, the position of US in ST1, which is of course house, and so the position of US here you can see is 1, 2, 3, so that should return the value of 3. We can also, another useful one is mid string, so I'll just try that, mid, and these do all have corresponding functions in Excel. Mid, now what does that do? The next cell down it says this, mid, it says find the position in ST1, which of course is house, find the position, find the string, I should say, not the position, find the string, the substring, inside house, which starts at position 3, which is here, and take the next 2 characters, which is here, 2 characters, which is US. I'll just say that again. Starting at position 3, which is here, take 2 characters, which are those 2 characters. So when I click the button, it gives me that result into cells 5-1, row 5, column 1, of course. Finally, a simple one is just finding the length of a string. I'll paste over the top of that. It simply finds the length of that string. You can see house has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so if I click that, it produces 5, which is the 5 characters. Let me just say a little bit more about mid. I'll just return to what that did. I'll just delete all those. Remember the smart way of deleting stuff. And now, if I now click that, just to remind you, it takes it from the mid. It takes them from ST1, which is string, starting at position 3 and taking 2 characters. Fine. So if I click that, and this is what we got previously. But now the question I'll ask you is, if I delete those, what will the result be? Well, you could have a guess. You could guess, starting at position 3, you could look at it and say, oh, maybe it might just return 1 character, i.e. the U. Well, let me just see what happens. If I click the button, it in fact returns the rest of the string from that position on. So starting at U, it returns all of those characters to the end of the string. And you might say, well, yes, well, it could have taken 1, but it doesn't. That's the way it's built. So that's the way it works. Then just to remind you about write string as well, as we just previously did. Right. It starts from it takes the string and it takes the 2 characters from the right, remember, so it took house and took those 2 characters from the right. And what does mid do? I think I'll no, that's okay. So I can start at mid starts at position 3 and takes all the characters to the right. So you can see that they've got a similar functionality. Right, and which one would you say is the more useful? Without a doubt, it's the mid. I'm thinking of C++, sorry, I was trying to comment that out. So that's the VBA way of commenting something out, and so that takes no effect, of course. It is often the case that you're searching for text and you you have a starting point, and then you take all the rest of the text or a couple of text, but you rarely start from the right and extract some text. I can actually think of an example where you do, and for example, you might have a bit of text which is the name of the document, and then like DOCX, for example, and you wanted to know what sort of document that is. You would extract the 4 characters starting from the right. So there is a case for using right. If it might have been, for example, XLSM. It's a Excel macro sheet, and there's another case where you might actually use the right. In that case, you would extract the for the right, you would extract the 4 characters from the right. Other complications might arise, because how about that, for example? How would you distinguish what sort of a application that was, an Excel spreadsheet? So you can't just say 4 and it could be 3, for example. So how would you go about that? Well, basically what you would do is you would go searching through the string until you found the full stop, and then you would take the remaining characters from there, you see. So using mid, it would give you more flexibility. That's down the road, so we could talk about that shortly.